When Ahmed began his job as a cemetery caretaker, he had no idea that this role would lead him to a nightmare beyond his darkest imagination. An ancient cemetery in the heart of an isolated village, said to hold dark, unforgettable secrets. The villagers whisper that this graveyard is haunted by restless spirits. But when Ahmed, a young man from the city, took on the job, he dismissed these tales as nothing more than stories meant to scare children. On his first night, everything seemed calm. The familiar sound of wind rustling through the trees was comforting, until things started to take a strange turn. Ahmed noticed new graves he had never seen before, some without headstones or names. What was even more unsettling was the inexplicable change in the names on the old graves, as if something in the darkness was tampering with them. As the nights wore on, the terror intensified. Faint whispers filled the air as if they were invitations from another realm. The whispers always led him to a far corner of the cemetery, where a neglected grave lay covered in weeds and moss. Driven by a dark curiosity, Ahmed dug into the cold, wet soil with his bare hands. When he uncovered an ancient buried coffin, he opened it to find a decayed corpse. But what chilled Ahmed to his core was the small metal plaque inside the coffin, engraved with his name. The coffin was sealed tight, and the corpse inside was so decomposed it seemed as though it had been buried for centuries. Suddenly, the ground beneath him began to tremble, and the whispers of the spirits escalated into terrifying screams. Ahmed looked around to see the surrounding graves cracking open, with something moving inside them. He had no time to think or flee, as the shrouds began to emerge slowly from the graves, moving unnaturally as if pulled by an unseen force. Ahmed watched in horror as the corpses crawled out of their shrouds, moving with stiff limbs, their decayed skin revealing blackened bones. The scene was nightmarish. The dead advanced toward him, some dragging themselves along the ground with deformed nails, while others staggered upright as if marching toward the abyss. As the corpses closed in, Ahmed felt a sharp pain in his chest, as though something was trying to tear through him from within. He tried to run, but the corpses surrounded him, their hollow faces and dark eyes staring at him mercilessly. At that moment, the ground shook violently beneath him, and the whispers morphed into chilling cries, urging him to flee before the cemetery consumed him. The harder he tried to escape, the more the walls of the graveyard closed in on him, and the dead drew nearer. Ahmed attempted to flee, but the earth dragged him toward the open coffin. Suddenly, everything stopped. Silence enveloped the space. When Ahmed looked around, he found himself lying inside the coffin, the lid slowly closing over him. In the moment he thought it was all over, Ahmed opened his eyes and found himself lying on the ground. But as he stood up and headed to the bathroom to wash his face, he froze when he saw his reflection in the mirror. The same markings he had seen on the corpse in the coffin were now appearing on his skin. As shock gripped him, faint whispers began to echo in his ear, slowly calling his name and beckoning him to return to the cemetery. In that horrifying instant, Ahmed realized the nightmare wasn't just a dream. It was a reality haunting him wherever he went. The cemetery was no longer just a place, but a curse that lived with him. It was as if the entire world had become a massive coffin, slowly tightening its grip on him, with no escape.
Enjoyed the story? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more chilling tales.